Hey everybody, welcome to Class with Kate, where I take you to school on all things restoring relationships. This is the first official episode of the new show, Class with Kate. So if you've listened to my previous stuff, you'll know that the format is changing. And today's the first episode where we have a caller that has called in and we've talked through their situation. And so the format of this is going to be very different. I'm just, going to give a brief introduction of the caller and their situation. We're going to listen to the call. And then afterwards, I'm going to give kind of a synopsis of what we talked about, more so in how this could be helpful to you and just kind of some educational points. So let's get into it. Our caller is Mary. She is a married mother of one. She's got a baby. I think her baby's 1.5 years. And she has recently done a cross-country move. And they have moved to the town where both her in-laws and her own family are from. And her question today is surrounding issues with her mother-in-law. And this is very common. And she's got a great story, and we really got to some issues. But her question, and like many people's question, is, okay, I have this mother-in-law who crosses boundaries, who's toxic in these ways. Are they narcissistic? Are they XYZ? How do I both protect my peace and love my mother-in-law? How do I do those two things? What do I do when what I need, protecting my peace, is different from what I want, big picture? And, I love my husband. I want him to be happy. I want my daughter to have a relationship with her grandparents. So many of these questions are things that so many people struggle with. And before I start the call, I really want to emphasize the reason that I chose this different format is because it takes a lot of times going inward in ourselves to really understand what's best for us, as opposed to just consuming things online and, taking in information. I think what's so great about this call with Mary that we're going to get into is that she gets to go inward a little bit, and just by way of my questions. And so just to drive home that if you're struggling in this circumstance, that there is so much value in your own experience of it. And I really hope you get the opportunity to do that with a therapist, with friends, with anybody. But that's really the need here, is to explore this in your own way. So let's get into the call with Mary, and then I'll check in afterwards. Sounds like mother-in-law stuff, very common, but nonetheless very stressful.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I've watched a lot of your videos, and I feel like that's helped us gain a lot of clarity, but we're kind of I feel like we were stuck at this standstill, where it's I feel like it's this very standard mother-in-law situation where she's very enmeshed in her kids' lives. And I come from a really different family. For all our issues that we have, I feel like my parents view us as autonomous, independent people, and we're very direct with each other, and we can just kind of say what we're thinking. And then I entered into this dynamic, and it's my husband's family is very passive, and you're supposed to play nice. And if somebody's being rude, well, they might be having a bad day, so just ignore it. And you're not really allowed to address anything, or else the rest of the family gets upset also.
Right.
So that's been a tricky part of it. And my husband and I trying to navigate this, because we see a lot of these things where my mother-in-law is trying to be over involved in stuff. She's stepping over boundaries left and right, and she's not even aware of it. It's she just is she gives you this deer in headlights look when you call her out or try to say anything. She just does not get it.
Like what?
I'm trying to think of a good example of so this was one that was kind of our first intro, or my first intro into it. They wanted to buy us plane tickets for our honeymoon as a wedding gift. And so she wanted to be the one to actually buy them, because they had points or something she wanted to use. We find out after the fact that she had actually opened a credit card in my husband's name to
What?
buy the flights, and was just like, why is that a problem? And I think it was like one of the first times that he really like stood up to her on something, and was
Mm,
like, this is not okay. Cause I got upset. I said, look, at this point, like, what you do with your mom is sometimes your prerogative, but now like we're linked together. We're
mm,
married now.
financially, yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. So I'm like, I'm not comfortable with that. And she just like didn't get it. She was like, well, I don't know. And I got you these points, and this is actually a really good deal. And why does it matter anyways? And just like did not get it.
Okay. And so that was, you said, one of the first times that your husband stood up to her?
Yes. That was like one of the first times that he really was like to her face, was like, no, this is not okay. And like really held a boundary. So, and it didn't like go over super well. Like she was pretty upset about it. And that's just like kind of constantly the dynamic. And it's stuff that's really surprising to me. It's like, I can't imagine like my parents opening a credit card in my name. So it's like, it's hard for me to like
Even put
get
this
it.
in
It's
your
always
brain.
like
Yeah.
shocking to me. It's
Yeah.
things that I'm like, what?
Right. Is your
Yeah,
husband on the same page with that?
he is. Like not as much early on. I think he was really used to her being like over involved in his life.
Mm-hmm.
He still is like a little bit more okay with it than I am. Like recently, she had paid for our YMCA membership, and because she wanted us to be able to take my daughter to the pool and go to swim lessons, which was a nice gift. But the problem was that she set up the account so that she could access it, and then she was like checking how often we were going, and then giving us a lot of like calling, why aren't you going? Like, this is expensive. And I, for multiple months in a row, said, I'm not going to be able to go. So just cancel it. Like, I understand you don't want to pay for something we're not using. Like, it's fine. Just cancel it. But she kept it active so that she could keep like bugging us about it.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so recently, we just moved into a house. Money's tight. We can't really afford a gym membership. His mom offered to pay. And I said, do not let her sign me or our daughter up. Like, if you want to deal with that, that's fine. But I'm not dealing with it. And he was at first kind of like, I feel like you're being difficult. Like, it's not that big a deal. Like, just ignore her and you get a free gym membership. And I was like, it is a big deal to me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I cannot handle it.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I'm at this point where it's like, I'm trying to figure out how to balance like respecting, like protecting my peace, protecting my daughter's peace. But also like that's my husband's parents and he still loves them. And they love their granddaughter and they want to see their granddaughter. And I am at a point where like, I feel terrible for saying this, but it's like, I almost feel like if I never saw them again, I wouldn't care. And I feel awful feeling like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, it's just how I feel. Like, I dread every interaction with them. And, but I know like that doesn't align with like what I want
Yeah.
when I think about, like, I want my daughter to have a relationship with her grandparents. I
Right.
want my husband to feel like I support him in having a relationship with his parents. So I just like don't even know. I don't know how to handle it.
Right. How does it, outside of like when your mother-in-law does things like this most
Hmm.
recent thing, a lot of people, it's very normal to like ruminate about it or
Hmm.
change in a way. How does it affect you outside of these interactions?
Like I feel like it really causes problems like after the fact, because I get really stuck in it. Like I feel like it makes me so angry a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
times. It like fires me up, and then I'm like ruminating. I get stuck on it. I feel like my husband kind of like goes into shutdown mode.
Mm-hmm.
Like he really like dissociates around her.
Okay.
And so then we will end up having like multiple days of like, it's like immediately after the incident, we're on the same page and we're like, yeah, we're a team. But then like I'm fired up and then he's upset because like I'm fired up and he's upset at his mom. And then we end up like having a couple days of like not getting along super well. And it's
Yeah.
just this cycle of like every time we see them. And we're
Mm-hmm.
now living like 5 minutes away from them
Right.
in this new
Exactly.
house.
Wow. Yeah. Who else is involved here? You said that when you confront her, the whole family gets mad. Who are the other
Hmm.
players here?
Be my father-in-law,
Yeah.
and then my sister-in-law.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is your husband younger than your sister-in-law?
He's the oldest.
He's the oldest. Okay.
Yeah.
And so like his mom, so something happens, his mom will tell, I'm guessing, her husband
Yeah.
and daughter. And
Mm-hmm.
then what happens? Then your husband hears about it.
Yeah. So like if we are not available to see them, and we'll say, hey, we're really busy right now. And she'll like keep going and we just hold it. And we're like, we can't right now. Like we're really busy this weekend. Then we'll get a text from his dad that it's very like, your mother and I really want to see you. And it like you can tell from the way it's worded, like she sent that text, not him. And then like if we're doing something with the whole family, and we have any kind of boundary, like we can't do this during nap time, we can only stay this long, whatever. She'll involve his sister and say, well, she'll only drive down to see us if you guys come. And so if you guys don't come, then we don't see his sister. Or she might tell the sister about it. And then the sister's like, well, mom means well. We hear that a lot. Mom means well.
Intentions negate the impact.
Yeah. And then like we look like the jerks. You know, it's like we're creating the drama. Why can't we just go with the flow?
Right. And so your question is, how do I protect my peace and love my mother-in-law?
Yeah. Like, how do I have like a pleasant Christmas?
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Because holidays are coming up. So
yeah.
have you ever dealt with anything like this before in terms of kind of having boundaries and someone still being upset?
Yeah. I feel like this has been a dynamic in my family that I've realized more lately.
Oh, really?
That I was kind of surprised by, like, because I feel like my family is very direct, but I more recently have kind of realized that I think I was not allowed to have like negative emotions. Like I'm the oldest and I'm the only girl. And I've kind of recently put it together that like if there's any conflict and I have like a negative feeling about it, it's very like everybody's really upset with me. Like, why can't you just hold the peace? So if it's things like,
oh, wow,
I can't come to dinner tonight, nobody cares. Like they're accommodating. If I'm like, I can't help you with that, those things are not a big deal, which are a big deal in my husband's family. But if it's like, mom, dad, it hurts my feelings when you do XYZ, like that doesn't go over super well.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Which is a really recent thing that I like literally came to this realization, like, I feel like this weekend.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
There were like things that happened and I was like, oh my God, like.
Wow. Yeah. And I bet, that's pretty huge in terms of insight that, especially when it comes to this situation with your mother-in-law that sounds like is the most pressing one. Like it's the one that affects your day to day the most because now you're living 5 minutes from them. And is your family there too?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah.
So proximity plays a big role in this, like the feeling of just this, I don't know if hypervigilance is the word, but just feeling like this is always around the bend, these conflicts.
Yeah. It feels smothering.
It does. Yeah. That's going back to your question, how do I protect my peace? What, in terms of like the self-work you're doing around this, I mean, with the very recent revelation that this situation with your mother-in-law is not the first time that you felt, is silence the word, or like unresolved or not heard, not seen? It's not the first time with her.
Yeah.
It's actually been a more common dynamic than you've been aware of.
Yeah.
And it sounds like your opinion too of your mother-in-law and she doesn't have an awareness even of what's happening or these dynamics. And so her likelihood of changing is at this point pretty low in terms of like the immediate future. Like she's not in therapy. She's not working on herself. She's not, no one else is holding her accountable. Like awareness in that, their family is pretty low.
Right.
Right. And so the question, and then so too, how does this show up with your family? Like, what do you do with your family? Like, I know you just realized this, but what's your normal reaction if you were to bring up something to your parents, hey, that this hurts my feelings. When's the last time you did that, for example?
I did that very recently. We're actually living with my parents right now because we had this big cross country move while we were looking for a house.
Right.
And so we had this incident where my brother is also moving at the same time and asked them to watch his dog because he's getting the house ready. But my parents both work, and then I stay home with my daughter. So that was me watching the dog. And then it ended up being this whole fiasco because that dog didn't get along with my dog, which didn't get along with their dog. So I was playing like 3-dog shuffle all day, keeping them separate. And I have a toddler, and my brother's dog just like barked all day. And I talked to them about it, and I was like, hey, I know he needs help, but like, I can't do this. Like, I physically cannot do this. And I kept trying to say it, and everybody would get so emotional about it. Like, why can't you just go with the flow? Like, we're trying to make people happy and you're making this difficult. And I just like stopped bringing it up. I was like, all that would happen if I brought it up was like, at one point my parents like got into like a screaming fight with each other, and I like flashed back to being like 14, and I was like, this sucks.
Oh, wow.
I'm not going to do this. So I just put up with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, and okay, so just putting up with it is like what your option has been.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So like I can't feel anger, much less express it. Mm-hmm. And where it gets anywhere, where anybody's understanding, compassionate, curious even, or validating. Mm-hmm. And so what I do just to deal with that rejection is just like shut it down.
Yeah, I feel like my response, like, I guess what's different about like my husband and I that we've tried to understand in the dynamic is like he gets very like passive and will kind of like dissociate, and he checks out and just like lets things happen. And then my response is usually to like to be like the doer and the fixer. Like, okay, I'll watch the dog, I'll take care of it. Like
that's so sad because both of you guys sounds like don't get that understanding, love, compassion, and like being able to sit with that. It sounds like you both kind of you overfunction in a way. That's just a term. I don't know if that would resonate with you, like overfunction doing. And he kind of shuts down and like collapses inside kind of thing. And so, and you said when it comes to the dynamic between the two of you, you said there is understanding sometimes?
Yeah, I feel like we like especially now have like really good conversations where we like he acknowledges that like he doesn't like his parents' behavior either. And we're able to like talk about like what we want things to look like or set boundaries together. But I think like where we fail is that like we both have like a pretty big emotional response to like what's going on. And then we end up kind of like taking it out on each other almost. Like I get so spun up. I'm like turned to 11. And then he is just like, it's like he just shuts down because like his mom is upset and I'm upset and everybody's upset. And so he just like, he's on his phone. He's watching TV, just like
shuts down. Right. Well, I want to like commend you for your awareness. It sounds like you have a pretty good feel for this situation. And I think my like instinct, my sentiment about this is just a really sad situation for you. It's, your anger makes so much sense. Anger is there to like protect us and show that we need a boundary. It sounds like too, because you haven't had a lot of validation or like nurturing around your emotions. Maybe, I don't know if positive emotions would be included, but obviously specifically negative emotions, anger, fear, sadness, that it's pretty difficult to regulate those things and know how to integrate those into your life, like with compassion. I don't know if all that language is feeling to therapy or whatever, but it sounds like, from my experience, at least working with people with these kind of mother-in-law issues, when they look at their life and they see the mother-in-law stuff as like the biggest thing day to day, like the most impactful day to day, it's really easy to continue to kind of fixate on, I don't know if fixate's the word, but be like, okay, if she were to change, then I wouldn't have to, we would
Yeah.
be fine.
Yeah.
And the reality is that the unfortunate thing too is like when you start doing this work, the layers are peeled back to all the other issues.
Yeah.
And dealing with those is a lot harder in a way because it's a lot more painful. And so it sounds like your mother-in-law, when she does these things, it just like it triggers all of this other stuff too. It's almost, I mean, it's like a
Yeah.
trauma trigger. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah.
That of like this emotional neglect. That's the word we would use. And so so it's like, what can we control now? And yes, mother-in-law is definitely an issue. Like, yes,
Yeah.
your awareness and instinct about that behavior is definitely like red flags and something it would make so much sense that you want to protect your family from. And is there a way to learn, like to learn self-compassion this way and learn kind of more self-regulation specifically between you and your husband? Because that's where, and like what I've seen, the damage really is done is like, it's not just the mother-in-law stuff, but it's the way it affects your marriage, like you're saying, where it kind of reveals work to do there of understanding, validating, sitting with uncomfortable things before you go into fix-it mode, whether it's doing more like you're doing or shutting down, because you're not connected then.
Yeah.
And so the solution to this is like you and your husband learning these skills together. And then your mother-in-law she'll be like, it'll be like a blip type of feeling, the way you experience it. Because that's what matters. It's not only what she's doing, but the way you're experiencing it. And unfortunately, when dealing with people that are in this very low awareness area, even if they were to start doing things like, it's just not something you can control. And your husband, ideally you and your husband would come together and kind of make a strategy to address this issue. But it sounds like that's like the long game. And it might just start kind of on a day-to-day basis between you and him.
Yeah.
So again, I don't know how helpful that is because I don't want to like invalidate and say, she's not the issue, just focus on you. But it sounds to me like the most distressing thing is like that you're not heard and felt and seen. And maybe in your marriage sometimes too, whether it's just about her or with other things. And again, it's harder to face those things because it's your marriage and it's you and it's just more vulnerable.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense. Yeah. Because I feel like one of my issues is that it's like I get so spun up and I'm like, surely there's a way I can like do something about this, because I feel like just being like in kind of fight or flight mode for the next like 48 hours is like not sustainable and like
totally. It's not good for your
great.
body too. Well, and you just had a baby, so I'm sure you're feeling things on a much different level somatically, like in your body, not just because you're a new mom. So it's just kind of the perfect storm.
Yeah.
And you guys just bought a house, like you guys are really going through it. So it sounds to me like you get to, I wonder what it would be like for you to just take priority over feeling your feelings and like finding some compassion and validation and learning to actually push the brakes kind of manually in your own body and see what kind of comes up then. Because it sounds like that would be the most distressing thing, at least from my point of view, is like, I can't get out of this. Like, I'm so pissed off and I can't get out of this. And that's the problem. And so once we figure out how I can get out of this, then maybe I'll see things more clearly, or I won't feel so scared of this kind of stimulus to these feelings.
Yeah.
Because I know how to get myself out of them.
Yeah. Like I see how other people are able to interact with her, like how my husband does, or like my sister-in-law. And like, I don't want to be at like their level where they're just getting like really passive.
Exactly. Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm also kind of like, what if I could just like be around her and she does something that's like upsetting and it's like, okay, moving on. Like that feels so foreign to me that I'm just like, how could you possibly let someone act like that and you just like go on with your day?
Right.
But it's like something that sounds really appealing.
Oh, it does. Good. Yeah. I hear that a lot. And the way to get there is by having this internal dialogue of like, you're validating yourself.
Yeah.
And you're not needing that from something external.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I don't know. It just sounds like there's so much going on. And like, I really hope, do you have support of people that can kind of see your side and be in your corner and help you kind of co-regulate in these moments other than your husband who's in it too?
Yeah. And I feel like my mom is actually like, it's like with certain issues, she can be like so validating. And so this is like I talk to her about this stuff and she is like really validating in these situations. I found that like the times where I feel really invalidated are generally like when it's directly related to them. And then I think that's like why it was confusing for so long. And I was like, I have this like perfect, emotionally validating family and we're so supportive. And then I realized that it's like, it's only like that until there's conflict within the family.
Right.
And then it's not anymore.
Right. Well, and that's, and so in coming to this awareness that it's going to bring up anger too, because there's grief there. 'Cause it's like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was. And also now I have my own family where I want to do things differently.
Yeah.
And so it's just a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
So I think overall, it sounds like you are doing a great job and being like putting names to this. That's the hardest part a lot of the time is actually knowing what's there. But when you can kind of detach from focusing on them instead of being like, they're crazy. It's more like, okay, they have behavior that brings up a lot of anger in me and I don't know how to deal with this anger. And so that's what I need to learn. Like that's the first step. And then maybe I can kind of look at this differently once I'm not scared of feeling all these feelings in such a big way. Do you have do you have a therapist right now? Do you have
I don't currently. I had one and then we moved.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, so now I need to find one and so
I would
it's
love
like
to help you with
childcare.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, I would love to help you with that. I'm like trying to compile a list of therapists that clients really love and maybe take insurance. So maybe we can be in touch about that. But it sounds like
that would be super awesome.
Yeah, would love to do that.
It's really hard to find like a good therapist that's a good match. Like it feels like such an overwhelming task.
It totally can be. I've even, me being a therapist too, I've experienced that in the same way. So it's I got you. I'll do my best to help you with that. All right. That was so great. Mary was so articulate and insightful. I said, as you heard at the end, it's so hard to name what's going on a lot of the time. And a lot of times, especially if you grew up like her, where your emotions weren't necessarily nurtured and validated and seen. And this, as you guys have seen, if you've looked at my content, like this is a relatively new thing that we're discovering is important in terms of just society is nurturing kids' emotions. And there's a lot online about that. But if you have grown up that way, it is very difficult to even name these things. I think that's like the hardest part. That's like 60% of this is going from, I feel all this negativity. I feel all of this pain around this subject. And I don't know why. And that's what brings people to therapy. That's what brings people online to be a part of these conversations. And so that's kind of what is the hardest part, but the most necessary part. And Mary really shows that she is just aware of these dynamics and she has names for them, which is so great. So I want to just go over a couple of things from that to really just drive this home. One, that this is very common. When you first get married to somebody, it is so normal to have friction between the two of you with family stuff. Kind of like Mary said, she was like, my husband was, I think, used to this a lot. And so he didn't, it kind of takes someone coming in from the outside to really name these things and kind of call out the dysfunction. And so it's very normal in your first years of marriage even to kind of come head to head about family of origin stuff. Family of origin being, the husband's family. That's his family of origin. And then hers is her family of origin. Very, very normal to have issues with this. They're not necessarily make or break. Marriage is the long game. It's the long game. And so it's very normal and healthy to get into kind of this stuff at the very beginning. It's the lack of resolution over time that is, the most corrosive to the trust and relationship. Sounds like her husband is, certainly coming around. When we heard of that situation of her mother-in-law opening a credit card in his name, like, wow, like what a violation of boundaries. And so good on him for standing up to that and saying no. And so just to validate that, first of all. Second of all, what's really tough in these situations and what I really want to drive home is how dysfunctional his family is sounding like, how dysfunctional the mother-in-law is, even from what, just the brief couple of things that she talked about. If you are struggling with a mother-in-law who's this dysfunctional, you need to know that you are right. You are right that it is dysfunctional. And yes, maybe there is a strategy long-term to get this person some help because of the impact of their behavior is so damaging. So I think a lot of times when we approach this situation, it's yeah, but what can you control? You can't control anybody. So just focus on yourself. And that, to somebody who has not been nurtured emotionally their whole life and minimize their emotions and their perspective on things, that can feel so invalidating to say, let's worry about you. It can feel no, this person needs to change. This is wrong. And the answer to that is yes, you're 100% right. You're 100% right. And we kind of traced back, Mary, this stuff originated for her in her own family, in her own life, and even in her own marriage today. And then the next level of this is even with herself. Even with herself, this is what we see, is that the mother-in-law is kind of the presenting problem. They're the stimulus to all of this deeper stuff and work. And that's the most painful part, and it's hard to do this stuff. Why would you focus on all yourself when this person is clearly the most dysfunctional, And, but what we need to do just for her own well-being, ultimately at the end of the day, it's about her well-being as the mother, as the wife, her in her own life. She is the main character, and in her family, she is the leader. Her and her husband are the leaders of their family, of their child, and just factually in their own life. And so we need to focus on her and making sure Mary is okay. So again, just to kind of use Mary, this is not a therapy session about Mary. This is using Mary's story and parts of her story that so many people can relate to. And if you identify with Mary, that's kind of what I'm talking about, just to clarify, is I'm not speaking to Mary because we just had one phone call. I don't know her situation. All the other details I'm not privy to. So this is just, I'm making a lot of assumptions here too. That just kind of goes without saying, but I'll say it. But that's the ultimate thing, is if you're dealing with this situation, like you have had to worry about other people your entire life. And so your brain is going, when there is someone dysfunctional, your brain is going to default to, we need to fix them, or like, I need to focus on them, because how can I adapt myself for this person? Instead of, oh my gosh, this behavior is harming you. How are you feeling? Are you okay? And that's what's missing a lot of the time, is like people even describe their own experiences through this person's behavior. Like, yeah, she did this today. And it's like, wow, that's crazy. And things kind of stay there, as opposed to, oh my gosh, she did that. Are you okay? Are you okay? And Mary, it sounds like she's done a great job of even like setting boundaries, like recognizing when she's sounds like her brain is doing a great job, like self-protecting, being like, no, her anger, she's listening to her anger, which is an amazing thing, which a lot of people struggle with, is they just kind of take shit, and we see that like maybe in her husband, that he's just so used to his anger not mattering. But he's changing too. It sounds like he set a boundary with the credit card situation. So again, there's growth happening, there's movement happening. But when we're looking at like when someone is coming to a treatment space and wanting healing, wanting help, yes, there's family therapy. Like, yeah, for sure. Like if y'all wanted to do that, yeah, that's what family therapists are for, is to treat the group, the family. However, if you are an in-law, it's a tough situation unless your partner is like leading the way. And again, going back to what I said in the call, the strategy to like helping the mother-in-law change this behavior because of the impact she's having. And clearly the mother-in-law is having her own needs that she's getting met in ways that are not healthy for the group. That's kind of the long game. Like what we need to do is fix the parts first. Mary needs to be okay first. Mary and her husband need to be okay first. They need to be set in their family and make sure that like they can repair after these things. That's like, to me, the like primary issue. And again, and that's because Mary is showing up alone. Like Mary is like, it's not her mother-in-law in tow where she's like, yeah, we can definitely do this. Like I'm down to do therapy, like in an open-hearted, I'm willing to look at myself too way. Because if dragging somebody to therapy or like going to therapy, I want to say, you never know what's going to change someone. You never know. And so I think that's a great approach too, not to like talk you out of doing that, but just to say, if you're dealing with a low awareness person who needs years of therapy first to even make family therapy or couples therapy to make that productive, what we need to do first is make sure you are okay. And for Mary, that's worrying about her and her husband, but mainly her and herself. Like I use the word self-compassion and validation. And the more I post online, the more I realize like I just forget this, because this is my clinical brain at this point. But I forget that, people don't have that language. But what this actually looks like for Mary, like with herself, after mother-in-law does some toxic shit, it's for Mary to come home to herself and like say, Mary, okay, whoa, that was a lot. Who saw that coming? Like, that's so crazy. Am I okay? Like, okay, that really scares me. That unpredictability when I'm sitting with my daughter here, like when I'm thinking about my little innocent daughter and wanting to protect her, like this really scares me. I'm really scared for her emotional well-being because this is so like dysfunctional. Okay. We're there too. What else is coming up? Yeah, like maybe some anger at my own parents for like the way that they treated me this past weekend. Like, okay. That's here too. Okay. What else is here? Maybe I'm feeling weird about my body, postpartum. Maybe my hair is falling out, like still, and that's annoying. Like what else is here? when you sit with your feelings and you start feeling them, other things are going to come up, and that's okay. And what those other things need too is validation and understanding. Like, yeah, like being postpartum is so hard. So what happens when you haven't like nurtured your feelings is you have all of these kind of unresolved conflicts internally. Like for example, like the postpartum hair loss, for example. I use that as an example is because some man commented on my Instagram this week saying not to listen to me because I don't brush my hair. And that like looks unprofessional. And meanwhile, it's like my baby hairs or like that my hair is growing back that fell out. So anyway, that's why I'm using that as an example. But I'm like, does that really bother me? You know, not really. It doesn't bother me. But like, that's something that I feel that hasn't been named yet. And so for Mary, when she's sitting with her feelings like anger and being curious, like what else is here? Oh yeah, it's like grief because I thought my family was great, you know, especially compared to my husband's. But then when I'm really sitting with this, I'm like, dang, it's really not in the way I thought it was. And that's sad. And then there's all this other stuff. So the point, like that's a reparenting kind of process of like, hey, what's going on? Like, let's sit with this and look at it. And we have to be able to do that with ourselves. That's why, again, therapy can be great because it's a modeling of that. Like it's an example of someone that's like, no, let's sit with this really. Like this sounds like it's really bothering you. Let's figure this out together. If you don't look at your emotions in this way, you're going to experience emotions only as like drama. And, oh, this is just, okay, here that's coming up again. Like kind of how you experience it in your family. People experience emotions as drama as opposed to being reflective of unmet needs, which is what they are. And so for Mary, that's what this looks like. And I have a tool, I've made videos about this called a hate list. When you're feeling so dysregulated and you're ruminating and you're just like, that bitch, you know, it's like you're just sitting there and it's like, hold on a second. Yes. And what else is going on with me? Like I need to regulate right now. Like for my daughter at the very least, like for my child, I have to be coming from a regulated place. And that's, you know, millennials parents right now that are actively parenting and dealing with their like boomer narcissistic in-laws or parents that are like 100 years behind on this stuff. This is the hardest thing to do. You're getting pressure from the top. You've got to grieve what you didn't have while modeling what you want. Like I just feel like there's no other generation in history that's like under pressure like millennials are in this way with the overload of information and the pressure to change it and get it right because so much is at stake. Like no worries. So that's what this looks like for Mary. Internally is like validating. And then you will notice when you do this, your body calms down. You will notice going from like this stressed place to, you'll notice that the better you are at doing this. And so that's Mary. And then as far as it goes with her husband, that's like, that has to be healed also. So this mother-in-law is revealing cracks in their relationship, being that it's really hard to deal with these really stressful things that you have different opinions on and different ways of dealing with. And this is the hard part. And I've heard this a lot too. Like, I wish, Mary said this, like, I wish I could just like not be affected. I wish I could just like be unbothered like my husband and maybe his sister, I think she said. And the deal is that that's not healthy either. Like I know a lot of people that are like fall on the anxious side of things are like, oh, if I could only be avoidant, if I could only compartmentalize, if I could only just be like, yeah, whatever, and throw that away. I wish I could do that sometimes. And that's a great, that there's pieces of that are real that we want to get to. But the dissociating and the like internalizing, that's what is happening in her husband. Like he's not just not bothered by it. That's not real. Like that's not real. Okay. So no offense to the husband, but just to say in my experience with people, that's never, ever true, ever, that they're not bothered. They're just masters at swallowing it and burying it. And that has severe, like huge consequences health-wise. It can. People got on me this week because I said internalized stress, like repressing anger, results in health issues. And I used the breast cancer example. And so I'll just, don't take my word for it. Look it up. Look it up. Look up repressed emotions and breast cancer. Look at that correlation. Look at internalized emotions and autoimmune disease. Look up repressed emotions and like affairs. Repressed emotions result in resentment. So there's just so many ramifications of this. So just to say that do not envy this person for shutting down because they are going to have their own problems from that. And I get what you're saying where I just don't want to be as bothered by this. And I'm telling you the way to like not be as bothered is to honestly be bothered AF and just sit with it and ask yourself what it is you're bothered about and show up for yourself. That's like, yeah, that makes sense. Like that makes sense. That's the phrase. That makes sense. I see you, I hear you, and that makes sense. And what are you feeling? So like she did this and I'm feeling so angry by that. Yes, good. Anger is there for a reason. That is so healthy. Good. What else? Yeah, well, it's honestly makes me want to, what are my needs here because of that? Okay, I need to protect my peace. I need to protect my daughter. Okay, good. You're doing great then. Like and Mary, you're doing so well. You really, really are. A cross-country move, a toddler, cracks in a marriage, things you're still probably figuring out. That are very normal and healthy and just problems to solve. They don't necessarily mean anything negative about you or him or this situation. Like, let's be present with it and just good. I'm glad you're acknowledging problems. That's good. Like you're going through a lot and you're doing so well. You really, really are. I mean, if I could sometimes with people when they come to therapy or even with Mary, I just want to be like, girl, I just want to say, I want to spend 5 hours telling you how great you are and how great it is that you're even here dealing with this. Like, you need to understand that. That's really important that you understand that you are killing it. Like, you really are. You really are. This is the hardest stuff to do in the entire world. It's the hardest thing to do. And that's why people can't do it. That's why. And so that's how we're going to end today, is that you are doing so much better than you think, and you're not alone in the struggle. And like, if you can internalize that in these moments too, that is what's going to bring you calm and like get you what you want, which is peace. Like real peace, where it's like you get peace when you know you've got your back. And Mary, it sounds like you've got your back. And that's amazing. So thank you so much again, Mary, for joining us here. Everybody ask me questions. Ask me questions. If anything, I want to hear some like applause for Mary. But I want to hear more questions. Some last things. If you want to come on here and for us to have a conversation, I have a form in my bio where you can sign up. You'll put in just kind of like some specifics of your situation and you'll ask specific questions. Then I'll reach out and we'll schedule this and we'll get talking. This is a quick thing. This is not therapy. It's not anything formal. This is simply kind of using your situation to just talk through a little bit, and for education. The last thing is for people like Mary, I am looking to build a list of therapists that are based on client referrals. So if you have had a great therapist that has helped you in a lot of ways and you want them to have more clients and you think other people need to experience them, it's so hard to find a therapist, like Mary was saying at the end. Like, it's so hard. And what I meant when I said, like, I'm a therapist, I get it. I meant when I've been searching for my own therapist, like, I've had 2 amazing ones in my lifetime, and it was so hard to find them. So, we can talk about that more at some point if you want to learn more about how to do that. But anyway, I want to build a referral list for people like Mary, people like you. If you're like, I'm in, North Dakota and I need a therapist, I want to be like, hey, here's one where clients have raved about, So I have a form where you can submit your therapist for kind of referrals. I will reach out to them and, obviously ask permission and talk with them. This isn't a blind thing. But please do that. And remember that we're all in this together. Relationships can be restored. You can restore them, but first you have to restore yourself in them. Okay? Thanks for joining, and I'll see you next week.